In the early days of the reign of Arthur, when Maelgwn was king in Gwynedd, there lived a man of noble birth called Tegid Foel. He lived with his wife Ceridwen on an island on the lake that is still named for him today, Llyn Tegid. They had 2 children, a daughter, Crairwy, fairest maid in all the land, and a son, Morfran. As Crairwy was fair, he was foul, the ugliest man in all the world, such that he was called a Fagddi, for only in the darkest time of night could he be looked upon with kindness. His mother despaired that he would ever find favour in the noble courts of men, unless he had some merit to counter his ugliness. So Ceridwen bore herself to the hidden city of glass, deep within the mountains of Eryri, and there she consulted with the Fairies. From their wisdom and arts she returned home, and at the edge of the lake she began to boil a cauldron-of-inspiration for her son. She found a young boy, Gwion Bach, to stir the cauldron and fetch the wood for the fire, and an old blind man, Morda, to keep the fire kindled. She instructed them that they were to keep it boiling for a year and a day, during which time she, according to the phases of the moon and the alignment of the stars, gathered herbs to put in the cauldron at their appointed times. One day, towards the end of the year, as Ceridwen was making incantations, 3 drops of the charmed liquor flew out and landed on the hand of Gwion Bach. Because of the great heat, he instinctively put his hand to his mouth. In the instant that he did so, he foresaw all that was to come, and he knew that his greatest danger lay in the wrath of Ceridwen. Gwion fled. When Ceridwen saw that her labour of the year was lost, and that Gwion Bach now had the blessings of the potion, she chased after him to kill him. When Gwion saw Ceridwen chasing him, he turned himself into a hare, for the cauldron, among many other things, had given him the power of the Fifor, the shape changer. Ceridwen changed herself into a greyhound, and was almost upon him, when he leapt into a river and turned himself into a salmon. Ceridwen turned herself into an otter, and was almost upon him again, when he jumped out of the river and became a wren. Ceridwen followed as a hawk, and gave him no rest. Just as she was about to swoop down on him, he saw a barn with a pile of wheat on the floor. He dived in and transformed himself into a grain of wheat and hid from her. Ceridwen turned herself into a red-crested black hen and pecked at the wheat until she found Gwion, and she ate him. When she returned to human form, Ceridwen discovered that she was pregnant, and for 9 months she bore Gwion in her womb, determined that when her time came to be delivered of him, she would kill him. But when he was born, she found she could not harm him because of his great beauty. So she wrapped him in a leather bag and cast him into the sea, to the mercy of Manawydan ap Llyr, god of the seas and oceans. This was on the 29th day of April. In those days, between Dyfi and Aberystwyth, lay the weir of Gwyddno Garan Hir. Gwyddno had an only son named Elfyn. Elfyn was the most unlucky of men. It grieved his father, for it seemed that Elfyn was born in an evil hour. Everything that Elfyn attempted came to naught, and good fortune was never with him. That year, Gwyddno allowed his son alone to draw from the weir. For on the 1st day of May, the ancient feast of Calan Mai, the weir had never given less than 100 pounds of fish. In so doing, Gwyddno hoped to turn around his son's bad fortune. On that day, when Elphin went to look, there was nothing in the weir. Such a thing had never happened, and even the weir guards looked with pity on the sad misfortune of Elphin. He was about to turn away when he saw a black bag caught in the nets. With the aid of the weir guards, he drew the bag out, and within was a child whose brow was shining with a radiant light. One of the weir guards exclaimed, "Canfod a Taliesin! Behold the radiant brow." Elphin replied, "Then Taliesin he shall be named." Elphin carried the boy in his arms and carefully rode with him back to his house, all the way lamenting that he still had no good fortune and nothing to show but an abandoned child. The babe Taliesin spoke for the first time and foretold honour for Elphin, and his first words were a poem called A Dihyddiant, the Consolation. Elphin deg taw a thwylio, na chabled neb yr eiddo, ni wna les drw gobeithio, ni oel dyn dim ai portho, ni bydd eoig gweddi cynllo, ni thir dew ar a ddawo, ni chaid ynghored wyddno erioed cystal a heno. Elphin deg sich dy ddairydd, ni werid bod yn rhybrydd, ni wna les gormod cystydd nac amhau wrth iaido fydd. Cyd oedd bychan, oedd gelfydd, o foroedd ac o fynydd, ac o aigion a fonydd, a fona dew dda i ddedwydd. Elphin gynydd fai diddan, a nwrau ddiw dy amcan, ni rhaid i ti fawr gwynfan, gwell dew no ddrwg darogan, cyd bwyf eiddil a bychan, arnod garw ferw mor dylan, mi aw na fynydd cyfrdan, i dwell no thrychan maran. Elphin gyneddfau hynod, na sôr dy gyfaelod, cyd bwyf wan ar lawr fy nghod, mae rinwedd ar fy nafod, tra byddwyf i'th gyfragod, ni rhaid i'th ddirfawr ofnod. Trwy gofa enwau'r drindod, ni ddichon neb dy orfod. From that time forth, Elphin became the most fortunate of men, and for the rest of his life he had many reasons to bless the day that he drew the babe Taliesin from the weir of Gwyddno Hir. This is how the tale was given to me, and this is how I give it to you.